Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning in Uganda. Hi everyone. How are you? How was your day? How's your week? Today is the 9th of July, 2026. I hope you're doing well, and welcome to my live today. I have quite a bit to share, a lot to share, so I hope you have some time to give me. Okay. Welcome everyone. Today I will have a video in Acholi. I did one, in English. I did one in Acholi yesterday. So I am back with an English version to catch up from the last week's and the one for the Acholi that happened yesterday. So many things are happening in Uganda, as you know. You blink and somebody's lived a full life somehow, or lost one. Depends on how you see it or which side you belong. Okay, so let's get started. I have 2 people on right now. The rest will join us. Obviously you can rewind the video, so that's there available for those who are not here right now. My timing is not the most favorable for Ugandans in Uganda because I believe it's night right now. It's maybe coming into morning, but it is bright. If it is morning, it's really early. I believe it's coming into morning, maybe a couple of hours until 6 o'clock in the morning. So welcome. Let me know where you're seeing or watching from, please. Okay, let's get started. We congratulate Honorable and Vice President National Unity Platform for Central, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi Kurikayo Ekomera Ligwa. Okay, prison imprisonment also comes to an end. Museveni has used every tool possible to try to dim the light of National Unity Platform, to bring us to our knees, to make us feel like we have no choice and we can't survive. But he has done everything he could possibly do, but change has remained. And Museveni knows firsthand that no matter what he does, Ugandans, and especially change wishers or change wanters, members of the National Unity Platform and all those who believe in change, cannot change because they're intimidated by him. The speakers are speaking, the actors are acting, the ones who are performing, the foot soldiers are being foot soldiers, the justice system is being what it is. The supporters of National Unity Platform is growing every day, back in Uganda, abroad, and every effort. He has imprisoned several, but imprisonment has not scared everyone. He has killed Ugandans, but even that has not deterred Ugandans completely from trying to seek change for Uganda. Therefore, I hope he has learned his lesson, but as we know, he's a stubborn one, so this might not even fix it for him. But he has done everything possible he could do to a human being to try to think that he can deter Ugandans from continuing to seek justice and change. But everything he has done has failed. Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi has had the biggest reception since his release from prison today. He has made speeches in his area, and people have been up all night celebrating his success, his release from prison, his freedom, the ability of him to come back and stay as strong as he is. Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi said if we thought he was strong, he is now stronger than he used to be. So I can't wait to see how much the Musevenis are going to feel, how bad they're going to feel, how much they're going to react to this. But for now, we celebrate and we thank the justice who made this possible. I'm sure Muhoozi and them are not happy about his release, and not happy about him being free, and not happy about seeing the reception that he has gotten from his people. But obviously, no matter what they do, change is in our heart. No matter what they do to the low position, change is in our heart. No matter what they do to our structures or buildings because of the trade bill, change is in our hearts. No matter what they do for people who are working in Owino or working places and things like that, they cannot change what is in our heart. We want change. I'm here, far away from the land, Uganda. But I can tell you that if I don't make my contribution every day, I don't sleep well. That's how much change is important. That's how engraved change in Uganda is in the hearts of the people who wish and want to see change. So no matter what they do in Uganda, we are going to continue speaking, we're going to continue sharing, we're going to continue condemning them, we're going to continue sharing their atrocities, we're going to continue showing them that we are not completely out and down. We are not. So speaking of which, recently Museveni has been sending a lot of people to the prisons, people like Katikiro Mayiga, and a few others who he always sends to go and speak with the political prisoners. He's trying to talk them into accepting the crimes that he, Museveni, says they committed. In fact, I know that they labeled certain crimes on, like Eddie Mutwe, they said he stole a jumper. Acholi Chivumbi, that he stole a cell phone, which was never made by Techno, by the way. When they tried to recreate what the phone was that was stolen in that saga that they pinned on Acholi Chivumbi, the phone was found to be a phone that has never been produced by Techno. So you can tell that God is on our side. No matter what they do, no matter what they try to do to demean or to kill the light in our hearts, to kill the strength and the power that lives in us, they have no way of completely putting out the want for change. Okay, so they've talked to a lot of the prisoners. A few of them had been compromised, but every time they finish meeting with these people and maybe feel like they maybe could agree to certain things, our favorite and the strongest spokesperson ever in National Unity Platform, Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro, gets all his brothers and sisters together, the Olivia Lutayas, Acholi Chivumbi, Eddie Mutwe, and everybody, and says, you guys, let us not give up. He talks them out of it every time. And the police, the prison service have said, you know, as much as we try to talk to these people, even if we're going to make headway, like we feel like they're about to turn around, as soon as they meet with Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro again, they become stronger, they become more powerful. So we encourage our people in Uganda, the leadership, please pour in your strength into the prisoners who are already compromised, already in their lowest, already not doing well, already beaten. The only thing they have is their soul, is their strength, is their spirit. Therefore, it takes a different kind of communication to pour into them, to give them and build them from the inside out. So we're going to see about getting, you know, as much support from people outside of the jail cells to see how they can reach them in any way. Even if you have a connection with the police officer, see what you can do to reach them. Give them a message and to strengthen their heart, because surely they have physically been beaten. They are not well cared for. They are not sleeping well. They are not eating well. They are missing their loved ones. For anybody going through that, honestly, you can feel a little bit lost. You can get tempted to say certain things. We will never, ever, ever hold it against the prisoners for the decisions that they make. However, choosing to accept Museveni's crimes doesn't really mean you are going to be free. As soon as it goes on record that Acholi Chivumbi accepted that he committed a treasonous act, that becomes Acholi Chivumbi's history. Therefore, for as long as Museveni is in power, it does not guarantee that despite the promises of saying, we're going to buy you a house, we're going to buy you this, we're going to give you this much money, there is no guarantee that surely they will get whatever that is. But more so, your history, your name, what you answer to is more important than what you have. You have seen people who have everything, but as soon as they get amongst people, other people, they're a sign of disgust. It's because your name carries more weight than what you have, or what you can get, or what you have to show. Your name is your honor. So for all the prisoners, we know, and that's why we get the fuel to do what we do, because we know it's hard. We know it's hard, and we know it's difficult, and maybe you'll get tempted. But let me tell you, as soon as they paint something on you, Museveni will dangle it like this. You will never come out and feel free. Okay? You will not feel free. He will pick you up and put you back in as much as possible. And if so be that the pressure that's coming from outside is Zaluganda. Yes, some of it is allowed. So as long as Museveni is feeling the pressure from abroad, the pressure that is asking him for accountability of the prisoners and the prisons and the atrocities and the human rights violations, for as long as there is that pressure, it means that Museveni can still pick them up in future if something does become of a need for him to demonstrate that he's active, that he's truly fighting corrupt. Like now he thinks he's fighting corruption and this and that. He thinks he's doing that in doing all these things to Anita Mong, Chris Obore, and all of them, because he's acting to display to the Western world, to the people who hold international treaties against human rights violations, that he's actually doing something. So your name, if Museveni labels you something, believe me, you can never take it off you unless the government changes. And that doesn't mean they cannot bring you back and forth like they've been doing now, but even with a heavier arm, because now they have a reason to do the right thing, or do whatever they think is deemed for the crime that they're saying you did. So let us protect our names no matter what they do. Let us not accept the crimes that we did not commit, especially the ones who are being held, that he knows that he's using them as weapons to try to demean National Unity Platform. So despite Katikiro or whomever is coming to speak with them, strengthen our brothers and sisters. I've started a series where I'm going to keep sharing about each individual prisoner, to talk a little bit about them so that the world can know what these people are about. Let us put a name, let us put a life behind this person, Sebufu Eddie Mutwe, this person, Olivia Lutaya, this person, so and so. Let us keep them in our eyes, before our eyes, in the media, in all forms of social media. Let us keep that going, because somehow the world will know that he's not doing what he's supposed to do, and they can do something with Museveni. Okay, so let's keep that going. I understand that because Waiswa Mufumbiro is doing a lot to change the hearts and minds and pour into the souls of the other prisoners. They are figuring out how to get rid of Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro. One of the ways that they think they can do that is to separate him from the main prison and take him to a different prison where he does not have the same company of the strongholds of the political prisoners, the core, the bodyguards, for example, of His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, Olivia Lutaya, the ones who they feel like they have made waves, they've been in the media, people have heard about them. They think they should they put him in a separate place. If not, they should try to eliminate him quietly in the prison cells. I shared something like that because they can do something like that. However, if it's shared, everything that he will do, anything that Waiswa Mufumbiro will go through, will be implicated on Museveni, for sure. So let us keep their memory alive. Let us not have their names, what they are, where they are, die down, because Museveni enjoys the peace of not having free so and so, free so and so, free so and so, because it awakens the world, the Western world that he's trying to get money or things from. Okay, so we promise to keep that and keep that alive. But more so, if you have a chance to meet them, some of you work in the prison services, you do something small here and there, get close to them and say, I see you, I'm doing, whatever you need, let me know. Bring them something nice, do something for them, because it goes a long way. In a changed government, let me tell you, if this government of Museveni falls, okay, the people who will not be asked to leave will be the people who know in their hearts that they did something to Ugandans who are wishing for change. National Unity Platform. They'll all pack their suitcases. Nobody's going to tell, somebody like Balaam that it's time to leave Uganda if Museveni is no longer in Uganda. Nobody's going to tell him. All these people will pack their bags separately and go, because they know what they've done to our people. So keep them alive, keep them poured in, keep them full, hopeful. Hope is the things, is the faith, is things unseen, but hope is the fuel of the soul. If somebody hopes that there will be something good in their future, they'll do whatever they can to live for now. So let's give them that, because it is necessary. Okay, they're in the hardest place possible. We are free, even though those people who are behind bars are more free than Ugandans who are outside in Kampala and Uganda at large, because in those areas is where they face the most suffering. Ugandans are suffering in ways you cannot imagine. All the demolitions of houses, the stifling of business activities, all of this, poor healthcare and all of that. The people outside are more prisoned or in prison than those in the jail cells. But even then, being behind four walls, or however many walls, it diminishes you as a person. Restriction from being free to be yourself and do what you want. It makes you break a little bit every day. So let us keep them empowered, keep them full, pour your souls, pour your strength in them, give them faith, give them hope, because when things change in Uganda, there'll be the heroes that will always remember, that will celebrate and award appropriately, because what they've given is beyond what we could give, more than what we can give, because at least we are free to choose what we'll eat, what we'll drink, we are free to choose the basic needs of life, but they don't have a means to. So any chance you get to support a prisoner, please do it wholeheartedly, because only you might be the hope they have at the moment of when you meet them. Okay? So I spoke about that. All right, let's go into today's major posts or shares. Let's talk about Anita Among. Do you remember the cultural leaders who went to visit her at her home? And they met with her and they took a picture outside of her house or in the yard or something like that. Those people have been begging to meet Museveni and talk to him. Talk to him regarding Anita Among, obviously. And Museveni dodged them for a while because he has nothing to say to them. Museveni has a made-up mind. Museveni met with them, and just to make them feel comfortable or feel happy or feel content about meeting Museveni and getting a positive response, Museveni told them that he's going to definitely let the IGG go through the process that Anita needs to go through. However, he's going to come in later and see how to save Anita Among. That was before and while he met with these leaders from Teso who came to visit him. However, as soon as he finished that meeting and he met with his family members, and Museveni said Anita Among cannot survive his hands. And what he's going to do to Anita Among is going to be something that she'll never forget. He said that Anita Among has become a snake in the green grass and a cancer in the government of Uganda or the NRM as complete as possible. He said that he's going to make sure that Anita Among will never rise again, and he'll make sure that Anita Among is dead He's not talking imprisonment. He's not talking disappearing Anita here and there. He says Anita Among he must kill, because Anita Among has become a cancer and a snake in the green grass. If you do remember the saga of Anita Among's arrest and all the wealth that Anita Among had, apparently Anita Among's wealth is tied to South Sudan Salva Kiir. The president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, is a huge link to Anita Among's wealth and the way she interacted and threw her weight. Somehow, if you don't know, Museveni is the kingmaker of Sudan. He is the one that got rid of Garang. Garang's airplane, as soon as it took off from Uganda to head back to Sudan, Museveni shot at it intentionally and sacrificed the pilot and Garang himself so that he could replace him with somebody who he wanted in Sudan. He was done with John Garang. I actually recently met a very good friend of John Garang here in the United States. A really, really good friend of his. Somebody from Sudan who is not even, actually he's not Sudanese. And he told me about how this whole ordeal unfolded. And he too had to leave as a refugee. So Museveni, in the mix of Anita Among, after meeting the cultural leaders and you know, putting rosy glasses on them and saying, oh yes, I'll release your daughter, don't worry, you can go back, you know, I care about Anita Among, I made her who she is, I'm going to make sure that I take care of her, nothing will happen to her. Meanwhile, like I said, when Museveni says this, he means this. So anyway, if he doesn't mean any harm to Anita Among, why is she not free to live? If IGG is conducting their own independent research, why is Anita Among not free to exist and go to court and do whatever it is? So that just goes to show you how this man functions. He says this, but he means that. He does not mean exactly what he says. So anyways, Museveni is very upset with Anita Among because Anita Among was pulling her weight and trying to destabilize, apparently, the government of Museveni. Anita Among had great allies in South Sudan, especially with Salva Kiir. That grand building that Anita Among has, apparently, it is a home where Salva Kiir heavily invested, and he planned to, once he retires in South Sudan, to come and live and retire in Uganda in the backyard of Anita Among. Both of them had planned to somehow figure out how they can topple Museveni and begin to run the country, as Anita Among being the president of Uganda, or whatever the other arrangement could be. When Anita Among was picked up from Sudan, from her home, and taken to Museveni for questioning, all that time that we did not see Anita Among and this, that, and the other, they interrogated her severely and got a lot of information. This information included the people she had been working with, who told her to do what, who sent her to do what. That is the reason Chris Obore is now in jail, because all of the links to whatever was transpiring about Anita Among, a change of government and all this, even if it was not necessarily a change of government, Museveni was scared. And nothing scares Museveni than feeling like he's getting the carpet pulled from under his feet. So anyways, Anita Among said a lot of things. She was tortured. She told what she knew. And all the people who have participated in Anita Among this, that, or the other, or finance moving here and there, are all going to be captured. And all of them are going to pay duly. All of them. So Museveni plans a huge war in South Sudan because he's now suspicious that Salva Kiir is trying to destabilize his government. Museveni wants to take down Salva Kiir first. And in a way, he's going to cause a war in South Sudan because, you know, Museveni has history and cases have been filed against him destabilizing South Sudan. All the ammunition that was in the saga of that gentleman from PLU who's now wanted by the United States, all those ammunition that came in illegally, ammunition that was given to Museveni to go and fight wars in Somalia, he turned those same ammunitions to South Sudan. And that's where the war crimes on Museveni in South Sudan are recorded, and they are with Human Rights Watch, International, the ICC, International Criminal Court, the United Nations. All these international bodies on human rights and peace have evidence and information about Museveni's involvement in South Sudan. So South Sudan has been his backyard and playground. Till today, Museveni has a lot of, you see, all these Ugandans. I was in a WhatsApp group in Acholi sub-region where there's a list of Ugandans who have been enlisted in the military, in the UPDF. I don't understand why Ugandan people, or youth especially, why they join the military of Uganda. Because let me tell you this, when there is a war, or when Museveni needs to fight a war, because he starts them and he fights them and he ends them, it is all Museveni on both sides and all sides and every side. A lot of the war that's being fought in Sudan, where they want to cut off a region and make part of Rwanda and make a Rwandese territory in South Sudan, the people who are fighting there are Ugandan military. Ugandan-born military are the ones being sent to fight in South Sudan. When they die, nobody tells the families who went where and whether they're alive or not. A friend of mine, Strike Machine, today posted a friend of his who he grew up with, a young man who he grew up with. They were best friends. All of a sudden, he signed up to join the military as a recruit, as a cadet. Today, he's dead. No explanation. All they said that he died of a blood clot. But a lot of Ugandans are dying in South Sudan. Very many Ugandan young men and women who are enlisting in the military are dying in South Sudan without any records anywhere. Museveni doesn't care about bringing the bodies back. Even if he does bring the body back, it is a military operation. It is not about you and burying your person. They make sure it's done as quickly as possible, and it's done with, gotten rid with. Nobody asks any questions. Okay? So Museveni, you can tweet this, you can share this, but Museveni wants to dislodge Salva Kiir. He wants to kill Salva Kiir or get him off the presidency. He has already prepared another person to take over the presidency in South Sudan. So I have some Sudanese friends, but if you do have some Sudanese friends, alert them that Museveni is coming. It's not like this is new. He's been in South Sudan all this while, and he continues to commit atrocities. I'm going to share this piece, obviously, with where it needs to go, but it needs to get out as soon as possible that Museveni, within the coming weeks, wants to get Salva Kiir off the presidency of South Sudan and put whoever he has groomed to take over that position. Okay? He also doesn't want to give Riek Machar, who is in line or something like that. Riek Machar has been in opposition to Salva Kiir for a long while. But that's all the arrangement of Museveni, to try to keep only one of them in power. He just plays ping pong and to see who's going to stick where. Okay? So he doesn't want Riek Machar, because Riek Machar was the vice president and ended up, I think, on house arrest or something like that. He has no chance at being president of South Sudan, but Salva Kiir is not going to live long in the next coming few weeks. He wants to make sure, because of the threat posed by Anita and everything she did with moving this, that for Salva Kiir. Even the Rolls Royce is said to be bought by Salva Kiir for Anita Among. Okay? So it was a big trigger. When they saw it, they knew that Anita Among could not afford it on her own. Then they learned that Salva Kiir all along has been part of Anita Among's life and influencing change in that region. All right. Mobile money stations in Uganda. It has been decided by the Musevenis that mobile money stations are no longer going to be owned by any Ugandan. They're either going to come up with a bogus law. If not, they're going to forcefully cause a situation such as licensing or certain requirements that are too stringent for a Ugandan to continue pursuing or working on mobile money. What they want to use mobile money for is an opportunity to be able to spy on Ugandans everywhere. As you know, the Kabano or the Rwandese groups, the Kabano, is an organized group of people from the top level of the presidency of Uganda, like Museveni, and at the highest level, to the person who walks Q-Tex on the neighborhood, the person who sells clothes, the LCs, the people who are around on the grassroots level. And Museveni knows better to use or to empower the grassroots resources for his sake, so he can get information. Museveni can tell you who lives in what region, what plot, and what they do, because every day they are sharing information to him and feeding him what's going on everywhere. That is why it is imperative that the youth of Uganda today, especially change-wanting youth, to go in and join the elections, the local council elections. Go register, go sign up, go and run for office, because there is no way change is going to come to Uganda if we don't infiltrate every space. Every space in Uganda must be filled with change wanters, because Museveni has turned all the M23 who ran away from Congo and came into Uganda. They're giving them identity cards, giving them names, and sending them to local regions, to the grassroots level. You see, sometimes I see videos from northern Uganda where the Balalos are walking their cattle and this and that and the other. There are times where you'll watch those people on a phone call and they're calling somebody, and you can almost suspect that it's somebody in a high place. It is true that that is the case, because they are connected like fibers from every region, communicating directly with the head. That Mulalo man who is walking around with his cattle, believe it or not, can call Museveni directly and give him an update about what's going on in a village somewhere, and get an answer from Museveni, including advice on what to do next. So grassroots are really important. When you start that far or that close to the ground, you can influence more, you can inform people, you can make the right decisions. Nobody will come and steal land anyhow, because they will know that the person in this position is not somebody who can easily be messed with, is not a Rwandese, will not accept a Rwandese, and will question, who is this buying this land? How did you buy it the right way? How did you get it? When did you get it? And all these things. So being in the right place at the right time, I think, will get us prepared for when change comes around. We will be able to defend our honor, defend our land, defend our people the right way. And I'm not talking violence, I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying legitimately using the law, fighting them off by saying, this is not right, you are not born here, you cannot do this here, you cannot do this and that, like that. So everyone who can become or join the LC race, local council race, please join, please register. If you're lacking funds to do it, we will figure out a way to do it. It is imperative that the youth get involved in positions of democracy. Vote, make your opinion known, make your choice known, otherwise you'll fall for anything. Okay? And if not, they will impose what they think and want on you. Imagine if these people capture the LC positions. That means that they will steal elections day in, day out. They will be even more organized in the next election, because apparently they know that Museveni did not win. Obviously, they know he did not win an election. But do you know the true number of Museveni's loss? It is 6.4% of the whole general election for presidency in 2026 on January the 15th. Museveni only got 6.4%, no more. 6.4. So they know the facts, but every day they are preparing for the next thing. As much as they are on their way out, because every sign points to that, they try to grasp on straws for today. Museveni lives for today. He doesn't know what tomorrow brings. He doesn't know if he'll be alive tomorrow. He doesn't know if he'll wake up tomorrow. He doesn't know if he'll still have this government tomorrow. But we have the ability to dream. We have the ability to plan. We have the ability to act. Let us use our advantage to continue driving change forward. Okay? They're preparing for these LC positions like no man's business. This might be the bloody election in history of Uganda, because as you know, the LC positions had been paused for a long time because Museveni had his people in certain places, but some people have died, some people have quit, some people have moved away, so he's losing on his spies as far in the grassroots as possible in the LC positions. So take up those LC positions. The other thing that I talked about the mobile money stations. Those mobile money things are going to be as though the money lenders all over Uganda. You know that there's lots of money lenders everywhere, and the purpose and the reason for them positioning as they are is so that they can share information, they can report, they can take over wealth, they can do all these things. So just like they're using money lenders, just like they're using mobile money stations, they also want to register a lot of M23 and Rwandese at local council levels. So let's take up those positions so that we can take control and stay in control of our regions. Next person I want to speak about, okay, let's, for the sake of, because maybe she's Ugandan, I don't know. Namere. Namere is one of the persons in parliament that will likely end up like Nebanda, not because she acts like Nebanda, but just because she can go out like Nebanda. And we may not even realize when it happened or how it happened. The reason why Namere was chosen to be in that position as a minister, and that they made sure she won the election, is because Namere is a good tool that they can use to move certain things. One of the things is she does not have any shame. She does not care what she's asked to do. She will not care to report or not. She is already inappropriate and easily soured in our taste, okay? When there are certain people who already hate Namere, it helps the Musevenis, because if something happens to Namere, it doesn't necessarily have to point to them, okay? So Namere is going to be used a lot and eventually will be eliminated by an accident or some sort of poisoning. The fear that they have for Namere, being that she talks quite a bit and is always talking, is the fact that Namere might speak about Anita Among in parliament. And the fear about that is because they don't want Namere to speak about it. Nobody's supposed to talk about Anita Among in parliament. That one we know. It is the reason why they've chosen, you know, a different speaker, and they have, you know, they give certain people the microphone and not everyone. Namere is going to be used to perform their whatever they need, their jobs, their dirty jobs, and then eventually they'll eliminate her. But right now she's trailed by ministers who have to tame her, control her, so that she does not bring up Anita Among on the floor of parliament or on the answered. They don't want it recorded on the answered whatsoever. So she will be used, but she's not allowed to speak. Eventually, when she's done with her what she's supposed to do, they will get rid of her. But she has done so many things already to Ugandans that I don't know if anybody really cares what becomes of Namere. I don't think so. Something else that I wanted to mention is that there's a woman who is being sharpened to come up in the opposition stage. Is somebody who we already like, somebody we respect. She's a Ugandan, but she has been coerced and convinced to play an active role in seeming like a new and fresh opposition, so that she's accepted by Ugandans and welcomed as a neutral and a clean opposition party or person, sorry. This person we are all aware of. I cannot mention the name right now because it's unbelievable that she will even be, some of you will think I'm nuts for saying it. So let us wait for this to unfold a bit more, and then I'll say it when the time comes, or when it's right for us to say who it is. I will mention it and you will be like, oh my gosh, that's who I thought it was. All of you know her. I believe it. You all know her. You care about her. You love her. You believe she's something, you know, she's in for the good reason or good cause, but she's not. And that's how Museveni has always been. Like I said, Museveni does not do anything and straightforwardly. Everything Museveni does means something else. especially not something good for Ugandans. So that person that he's preparing to come out to look and be received in a big way by change wanters or opposition or whomever, he's preparing her because he thinks that once we have that twist, then they can remain in the presidency undercovers. So it's not about this woman even coming and taking on the position and existing as her, being the new face of change in Uganda and staying that way. No, it's because they want to use her as a curtain, but they will operate from the background and do whatever they need, just like they've always done. As I said, Muhoozi is acting straight out of his father's playbook, doing everything to help us connect. When Museveni came and what Museveni did, or the things that happened, to what Muhoozi is doing now, there is absolutely no doubt that he's actually doing those things that his father did. We no longer question how certain people died, how certain things happened to some people, you know, the Kairas, the people who supported him, because his father, Muhoozi's father and Salim Saleh, asked him to get rid of Babu, Cedric Babu, who was a dear friend of his, because Cedric Babu is a brilliant person. Now we know how Aronda Nyakirima ended up. We know why. We know how. Now we know that in Kalangala, the Nachimuli obviously was gotten rid of so that they can put this NRM person. We can relate. Now we know that Janani Luum surely was killed by Museveni. Now we know that several people, several examples, Noble Mayombo, all these people who helped Museveni somehow, who ushered him in, or who seemed like a threat to him. Museveni told his son, I did all this, I killed all these people because they were going to topple me, or they were more brilliant than I was. If Cedric Babu can put something like this together for you, imagine Cedric Babu begins to work with the opposition, he will get rid of you. Or imagine Cedric Babu starts something on his own, he will make sure to get ahead of you and you will lose your position as the president of Uganda. So they told him that that will make him strong and bold to exist without fear, such that if a woman, a man, an elder, a young person, you know, a baby, if he must kill them and it comes up to his mind that he should do it, he's not going to think twice. He'll be emboldened by the atrocity of losing his dear friend in his own hands, with his bare hands. These guys are sick. I don't call that intelligence. I think that is sickness, mental illness. You know, there's a story about Hitler, and this is interesting because you know that Hitler was born in Austria. Hitler ran away from Austria to come to Germany because he didn't want to be in the draft. He did not want to join the military in Austria. Some countries of the West require that every youth that is of a certain age joins the military first, serve the country, then leave and do whatever you want. But you have to give your country a few years, 2, maybe 4. There's different terms or whatever, timelines. Adolf Hitler ran away from Austria, his country, into Germany because he did not want to participate in the draft in Germany, in Austria. While in Germany, Austria requested that Adolf be extradited back to his country, Austria. And Adolf found a way to not be able to go, or not have him released back to Austria. Now, what happened then? Had Adolf left to go back to Austria, if Germany had extradited Hitler back to Austria, the Holocaust would not have happened. Do you know that? The Jews would not have died, because after Hitler was left in Germany, when they said, you know what, let us protect this guy, Hitler became the one person who wanted to clean Jews from the face of the earth. That is Museveni. That is Museveni. Had it been that they did not let them into Uganda, had it been that every opportunity anybody had to let this Museveni get out of Uganda, had they done their part at a certain time, the worst, the next thing would not have happened, the next would not have happened, the next wouldn't. But it's too late. So we have to put certain things in place to prevent certain things, especially when we've seen it so many times. Let us stop Hitler in Munich. Let us stop Museveni somehow. Somehow, because in the continuance, he's now teaching his son. The next thing we'll know, Muhoozi's son is at Sandhurst. Natasha's son is also at Sandhurst. They're learning how to come back and make Ugandans' life even worse. Amongst the plans that they have, even if they may not come to fruition, they're working on it. Somehow, if Adolf Hitler was stopped or returned to Munich, to Austria, he was stopped in Munich and said, go back to where you came from, the Jews would still be here. The Holocaust would not have happened. It makes me remember the transition of things, the way they happen in Uganda, the way Museveni has done things, and now his son and the plans and so on and so forth. It brings me to that type of thinking, because if this continues, you know, if we don't put a stop, if we don't join the LC positions, if we don't try to take this, occupy space where it's necessary, it'll be very difficult to walk certain things back, because they're casting a net and they know, like in the World Cup recently, when the US played, I shouldn't probably comment about this, but when there was a red card issued, okay, and somebody called off the red card, it gave those people who were given the red card, those people who had the red card taken away from them, it made them used to winning, and they did not have to, they feel like they did not have to work extra hard to try to win in the next game. You see, because when you struggle for something, when you get it or when you get to it, it feels good. You feel like you've achieved something. It's important. You protect it. Or if not, you strive even harder when you need to get and you know what you're trying to get. So I'm saying, let us all fall in with everything we have to try to make sure we get to where we need to be, to try to secure our country, Uganda, because they're planning all day, every day. They're trying to do something. Okay? And obviously the bad apples, like the Nameres, time will catch up with them. But let us focus and stay on course with what we need to do to get where we need to do. So when that opposition woman comes, please ignore any opposition woman that is going to be promoted, that is going to be as if they're seamlessly rising up the ranks, or without being treated like His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu or the foot soldiers. We can easily compare. All of a sudden, the Lope position has become of interest, and they want to eliminate the Lope or Joel Senyonyi, because they don't want him to be at that position, because Joel Senyonyi is the true opposition. Now is when we know that all the previous leaders of opposition and opposition parties were working for and with Museveni, because now and only now are they questioning the leader of opposition position. Why did they not call off when it was Professor Ogean Latigo, when it was Nandala Mafabi, when it was Mpuga? They even gave him some extra. They gave Mpuga 500 million cash for being a great leader of opposition. All of a sudden now, they don't want a leader of opposition or the whole position altogether. Why is that? It is a big indicator that we are doing the right thing, that we are the right opposition, and that we are in the right place, and that we must, if we need democracy to live in Uganda, that position and what that position means is important to uphold and hold. But even if they take it, just like he has killed people, just like Museveni has imprisoned a lot of change wanters, just like Museveni has killed or disappeared change wanters, taking the leader of opposition is not going to give Museveni peace of mind. It's not going to change us and what we do. It's not. He can keep it, he can take it, they can try whatever they do, but it's not going to change anything. And that's what Museveni has failed to understand. It is no matter what he does, he's not going to change how much we want change and how much we're going to fight him. And we're not going to stop. He has the majority in parliament. You would think he'd be satisfied. He stole the election. You would think he'd be grateful and satisfied. No. But like they say, a thief, when you steal something, you cannot be settled on the inside. He thinks that we are in his brains, trying to unwind things or wind things up and down. So now we know for the very first time from the coming of His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu that there used not to be an opposition in Uganda. There used to be actors, political actors, who are sent by Museveni to go and do what they want. Today I saw something about this Kabanda guy saying that they are now going to go for an arrest, or they're going to try the president of UPC's wife, Among. I think she's called Among. Is it Among? I think so. Apparently, and this is no surprise because the Musevenis exist on corruption all day, every day. Only until they want to get rid of you do they awaken these bones or skeletons in the closet. It is possible that they could have even used her to move certain things here and there. The person I was thinking about was Katunji. Katunji is the one who has been the arms dealer for the Musevenis, because they really can't say that they got the guns from anywhere else, because the Musevenis are the only ones who have guns. Any action that has to include guns comes from them. The people who went and killed on the day of elections at Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi's home were military men, and some of them even died on the spot. So the way this thing works a lot of times is Museveni has a series of people he sends on a mission, and none of them knows what the other group is told. So the first group that went and shot at people at Mwanga Chivumbi's home, there was another group that was sent to go and eliminate the ones who went to shoot those guys at Honorable Mwanga's home. Indeed, he'll testify in his speech earlier. He said that there were 7 people, civilians, who were killed in his home. But 3 of them were not civilians, but they were quickly undressed and the clothes were put away to the side. 3 military people who were sent first to go and kill people at Honorable Chivumbi's home had followers who also got rid of them because they didn't want those people to talk. Now the second group did not know what the first group went to do, but they were sent to do away with the first group. And that's how this guy works. That's how Museveni works. So the Anita Amongs and all of that, they have to pay because they benefited or they worked with him and did all these things for him. However, they must not live because he doesn't want them to speak. Wangadia is another one. Wangadia, Museveni has said, has become a cancer. Wangadia is now, because she knows a lot about the facts about human rights violations. There's been a lot of filings, efforts made by National Unity Platform and other independent people in Uganda who went and filed their own cases because they were attacked by strays or intentionally during dispersing crowds or whatever. Some people lost their children, some people lost their lives, others lost limbs. But ever so often they went and filed a case with Wangadia's office to report what happened to them. Now, because Wangadia knows a lot of that, and Museveni gave her responses which he wanted her to say, even if they were wrong, he ordered her and said, this is what you must say, and not the truth. Because he wanted the world to see that Bobby Wine and his people were doing these things to themselves. Wangadia said the people who disappeared just went into hiding. Wangadia said things like the people who looked like they were burned or tortured themselves. They bit themselves. The people who were, the 18 who were disappeared in Luuka, she says that they just went into hiding. And the ones who we're searching for, with because somehow they were picked up and taken away, she says, well, there's no record of them anywhere. That means National Unity Platform has been lying all along. Now, because she made such comments, Museveni is going to use just that to take her in and take her down. And he says Wangadia must not escape because Wangadia knows a lot. And if Wangadia makes any testimonies at the United Nations or any of those offices, Wangadia will take him down. Because Museveni is under pressure to give accountability about the people who were disappeared in Luuka, the constant imprisonment, the constant torture of people, the constant abuse of power, the constant misuse of democracy in Uganda, even though he pretends that there is democracy existent in Uganda. Now is the time the rest of the world is waking up, because every time he puts in an application or a request for money or funds here and there, they show him a video and say, what does this mean? Can you explain what this means? What's the accountability on this? What happened here? What did you do to these people? All the time. All of a sudden you see that he has woken up the case. He has allowed for the case of Kauma. Kauma, the one of the first people who was killed when His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was in Arua campaigning for Honorable Basalirwa. All of a sudden there is a case that has been registered. But there has never been a report that was filed or listened to on the people who were killed in Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi's compound by the military who showed up and just shot at them. I was honestly shocked. You know, I felt like Museveni can, you know, embarrassment. I thought maybe he cannot surpass that. But when Museveni arrested Mwanga Chivumbi, and yet Mwanga Chivumbi had about 7 cases to file against the state about militia coming to his home and killing 7 people on the spot. But he ended up going to prison for a crime less, which is something he didn't even do. But on speculations of a certain, I felt like Museveni has no shame whatsoever. And I feel like we can handle this guy. Because honestly, it doesn't add up. On that day, there's videos. There is proof that at Mwanga Chivumbi's home, Museveni sent militia to go and shoot at people. And people were killed. But how does Mwanga Chivumbi end up in jail? Do you see that? Like, is this man nuts or what? In any case, Mwanga Chivumbi would have been the one who would never step foot in jail because he has other cases against the state. No, those cases were not allowed any platform. Never. The family members and the people who talk about those cases say, cover their faces even when a small video is recorded about the incident. They don't want to be known. They live in fear. I'm sure they were intimidated not to ever speak. But just to show you how far this Museveni can go and how evil these people have been, nothing surprises me. If somebody tells me Museveni did this, I'm not surprised. He got rid of his own mother because he did not want his mother to tell Ugandans about where he came from, that he's not Ugandan. He did away with his own mother. What more can he do for anybody in Uganda? And that brings me to a point where people say, Museveni tuyambe, Museveni help us, Museveni konywa. What do you expect from a president or a person who has failed you at every level? Every level. You cannot point to one thing that Museveni has done for the people of Uganda. Even the people who say Museveni brought peace do not know that Museveni was the night person who came and committed the atrocities and then came back in the morning and said, I'm so sorry about what happened. Museveni himself, Museveni, Kagame, Rijema, and a few others came in the night and slaughtered people in Luero and killed a lot of people in Luero. In the morning, they sent a crew, or they came themselves and said, Obote is a terrible person. Idi Amin is the worst human being, you guys. I can't believe he could do this to you people. Same person, 2 different scenarios, Since then, northern Uganda I was born in 1986. I have never known northern Uganda without war while I was still in Uganda. Never. Straight, 18 to 20 years. People lived in camps. People killed every day. Children not in school. Elderly dead. People cut up into and cooked in pots. Students, Abore girls and all the places. Child soldiers everywhere. You wonder how come Museveni is known to be a peacekeeper in the region, Somalia and so on and so forth. But in his backyard, Joseph Kony thrived for 20 years. That is another siasa of Museveni. To tell you that Kony was a rebel in northern Uganda in the backyard of Museveni, but yet Museveni is fighting wars in Somalia against Al-Shabaab. You do believe that that truly Kony is something else? Kony was Museveni. Luero was Museveni. Kichwamba was Museveni. The kingdom of... I forget the kingdom of... somebody remind me. Where Winnie Kiza comes from. That kingdom where Elwero went and cut and killed a lot of people. That was Museveni. Every atrocity in Uganda has been because of Museveni's existence in Uganda. Corruption. Museveni is the kingpin of corruption. In Uganda, Muhoozi has never earned anything on his own. Everything they have is earned by Ugandans. The budget to manage State House where they live, that they've made a residence for 40 years, has been the income of taxpayers. Every day they spend 1 billion Uganda shillings on running the State House every single day. Every day. Now, tell me where Museveni Help Us comes from. What does that even mean? Museveni Konywa, when? When? Like when? Tell me when. Uganda today is in worse shape than when Idi Amin was there, than when Obote was there. All those people that led Uganda before. Rwenzururu Kingdom. Thank you, Kusima. Thank you, Andrew. Rwenzururu Kingdom, where people died, was Museveni. In Sebei area, there are people who have lived in camps for years. Some people don't even know about them. ASP one time showed a video of a region in Sebei region where those people have lived in camp for over 20 years, purposefully, intentionally evacuated by the government, never compensated, never given another way of life. They were left in a piece of land that they asked somebody to please let them gather, about an acre or so. Around the neighborhood is wild animals that came and picked on anybody whenever they wanted to and just took them and ate them. Some people, because they were so stifled, tried to cross to go to Kenya to work, but it was so deadly. Many of them were eaten by wild animals, trying to go and find a livelihood to bring back to the children. The children there have never gone to school, have no future planned. Just see what's next. 13-year-old, go get pregnant, start a family, one man with several wives. It doesn't even matter. Ruhakana Rugunda went there physically. By the way, Ruhakana Rugunda is now the Czech representative, NRM Czech. He was appointed. They are bringing their people back from whatever, retirement or whomever, because they want all hands on deck. So Ruhakana Rugunda, that people call Ndugu, he's not. He doesn't really care about any Ugandan, so on and so forth. They don't care. These people are all about themselves. So if we think that we can depend on Museveni Tuyambe or Museveni Konywa, Museveni Help Us, just know that these guys are here to finish Ugandans. And the sooner we know, like the people whose homes are being broken down, the people of Chitezi who never got compensation, who never got a different way to live, the people whose homes are being broken down saying it's NEMA, so on and so forth, and yet Muhoozi has a house right on Lake Victoria, and around the neighborhood There's several Rwandese homes being built. Tuyambe doesn't make any sense. It does not. Museveni is not here to kubayamba. Let us forget that and put that out of our system first. Put out of your system the fact that you think you can depend on Museveni, because you can't. His job and sole purpose is to make sure Uganda is another Rwanda. Speaking of the demolition, the trade bill, they're going to continue with those demolitions. Those demolitions are ordered by Muhoozi Salim Saleh. They are the main engineers behind demolition of homes in Uganda. Now, they do send SFCs, M23 recruits, or former M23s that exist. Some SFCs are straight from Rwanda. They come in and demolish to their interest, to whatever they order them to do. And while this is happening, the reason why you don't see any LC or any district persons or policemen involved or coming to save people is because these people who are being sent are untouchable. They are sent by Muhoozi and Salim Saleh, and they're empowered. They're given everything. In fact, while they demolish those houses, they whisper things that are painful, like, call your Kabaka. Let's see what your Kabaka will do. Okay, call Chagulanyi. Let's see what he will do. The police are hands off because they're told to be hands off, the ones who are in the region. And like I said, because they have their people everywhere, even the people in certain positions are Rwandese. Therefore, they are not there for Ugandans. So even if there are complaints, they can't come to the rescue of any Ugandan. They are going to continue with the trade order bill. They are going to continue demolishing. I understand in Wakiso, there's a Rwandese woman and a man who are getting money from people between 1.5 to 5 million. If you go and talk to them nicely and say, please don't break my home because this, that, and you can afford 1.5 to 5 million, they will they'll leave your house, they'll skip your house. And I understand they've become so wealthy because people have learned and they can do that, but only those who can do that. So not everyone can do that and afford that much money to try to save their home. That just goes to show you that Museveni Tuyambe is not realistic. Okay? They are going to continue demolishing and breaking those houses because they want only their Rwandese people to own assets and properties. Like the properties that are next to the area where they broke up recently, the skyscrapers that are being built, the new buildings, they are building from scratch as they break other homes in the neighborhood, which is unfair. But that goes to show you how unfairness is how these people operate. Failing Ugandans is a government policy, you know? So I talked about mobile money, Ebola. Oh, all cultural leaders are going to meet Museveni. Somehow he has made it. I think in a few videos behind I talked about this, that it was a big plan because they want to compromise the local and cultural leaders from their specific areas. So he's going to try. Museveni's main goal is to meet the Kabaka. The Kabaka has not permitted him to. He has not allowed. What Museveni wants is a photo of him handshaking with the Kabaka, showing the Baganda that they're in sync, they're working together, and that Museveni and Kabaka agree on the same things, which is not true of the Kabaka's interest. And so over this time, he has been sending the Katikiro to try to arrange for that type of thing, but it has not been successful because the Kabaka cannot and will not agree to meet and handshake with Museveni because he knows the truth about what Museveni is doing to the people of his kingdom. Okay, a lot of Baganda in prison, a lot of them are in jail. You know, a lot of things have happened to Baganda. Therefore, in his own way, he's resisting. In his own way, he's resisting the influence of Museveni and his people, which really upsets Museveni because he said he is the modern king. Like I said, the first thing Museveni took out of Acholi when he moved in to start to become a politician and a leader in Acholi, he got rid of the Kabaka of Acholi, because when Museveni went to sign up to try to join Makerere, those days you had to go and get a letter from the local, your community, your village, a letter that will state that you are indeed a child, let's say from Acholi kingdom, right? And when Museveni went to the Acholi king, the king questioned him and said, well, who are your parents? Where are you exactly from? The king found out that Museveni was not a child of his kingdom, and he decided not to write that letter to support him for admissions in Makerere. That used to be the norm. It was the order of how things were supposed to be done. Museveni then went on to go and study in Tanzania because Julius Nyerere was able to get him into Tanzania, into a school. That's why Museveni studied in Tanzania, and he references Tanzania a lot. So in that, because of what happened, the rejection, which was the norm, not because the Kabaka of Acholi had special feelings for Museveni, no. Museveni made sure that when he returned and when he had some power, the very first person he took out was the Kabaka of Acholi, the king of Acholi. So that goes to show you what kingdoms or the kings mean. The Kabaka of Toro, the father, was taken out by Museveni early when he first came in. The Omugabe, thank you Ronald, the Omugabe of Acholi. The kingdom of Toro, you all remember, I was a child at that time when they crowned or coronized the king of Toro, Oyo Iguru. He was a very young boy. I think he was 4 or 5 years old. Museveni had taken out his father and gave this child the position because he knew he'd manipulate this child however he wants. And because his father was prominent, like I said, Cedric Babu type of thing, his father was prominent and popular among his people, Museveni decided to get rid of him and deal with the consequences. And they coronized the child because he knows he can manipulate the child. Buganda, he has tried several times. That is how come the Kabaka ended up in Namibia. If Museveni could walk up to the Kabaka and shoot him, he could. Because the biggest pain or sore in his foot is the fact that he cannot dim the light of the Kabaka. Buganda loves Kabaka by force. Whether he likes it or not, it is a thing that it is part of Buganda, which is a great thing. Kabaka is honored and respected by all Buganda. Just being a Muganda, it means it is powerful, it is strong. And this is what Museveni doesn't understand. Museveni thinks he can beat things out of people. No. No. Honorable Dan Mulika, I forget his title. OHT what? Dan Mulika came out the other day in I think it was a wedding or some sort of function, and he said, you know, he has no respect for NRM people because it seems like they take out their brains and fill it with garbage. Speaking of that, how many of you have seen South African returnees from South Africa? Ugandans saved from South Africa from being hunted down by the KwaZulu men. You know, I think I would rather have, if I were them and if they knew their future and they had to choose, maybe they would have chosen to stay in South Africa. Thank you, Dog Nation. My goodness. They were brought from South Africa straight to the airport of Uganda by Bombardier. Muhoozi was there present. He probably was hoping for Dog Nation so that he can capture him himself. He went on to receive him personally. In that, he's trying to smear it in their head that he's the one who saved them and not the government of Uganda. Because Uganda as a government, like other governments, is supposed to rescue its own people. Okay? It's supposed to. Unlike him, the last time Bobby Wine went to Dubai, when he was arrested, and he learned while in prison, I tell you, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is something. If you don't learn one thing, something popular from him, there's definitely a place, a different area that you could learn something and emulate. Whether you're young, you're old, it doesn't matter at what stage in your life. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is an excellent example. That time that he was in Dubai, when he was arrested because he couldn't get into Dubai freely, obviously by the influence of the Musevenis, he learned about how many Ugandans or Africans were suffering in Dubai. Single-handedly, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu chartered airplanes, and returned Ugandans to Uganda. And he never made mention of it, never talked about it. It was never in the media, obviously, because they don't want to share that. But as soon as this guy was able to bring one airplane load of Ugandans who needed to be freed before the deadline in South Africa or they'd be killed, he made it a public affair. He went in there personally to go and greet them. Immediately they arrived at the airport. They were packaged into military trucks and taken directly to the military training ground called Chankwanzi in Uganda. There were mothers, their children, their fathers, there's sick people, there's able-bodied people, there's elders among them. All of them were just packaged from the airport while their loved ones waited and looked on, and driven away to Chankwanzi in the worst possible living conditions. They were taught to sing praises for Museveni. You know how you go to church and sing praises about, God or Jesus, and you go to the mosque and sing about Allah? The military there are teaching these people to sing praises about Museveni with Museveni's name. Who brought you here? Museveni, Museveni, thank you, Museveni, Museveni. That's what those people are singing there. Today, on the next phase, their new day, there's all full clad in a military uniform, UPDF, fully recruited to join the Uganda's military. Without consent, without question, whether they like it or not. It doesn't mean that they're going to be given positions anyway. They're probably making them so that they're ready to go to the front lines in Congo. Be ready to be killed like punching bags. But that's how Museveni operates. That's who he is. So if you are looking for rescue Museveni Tuyambe, see what happened to Museveni Tuyambe in South Africa. Those people have not yet gone to their homes since they were flown back with the Bombardier, the Ugandan airline, into Entebbe airport. They have not gone home yet. I saw mothers with children in the night singing Museveni, Museveni, wewale, Museveni, Museveni. They're singing that in the night with children, learning military songs to praise Museveni, instead of being home because you have been rescued. Whether they have their medicine, if you're diabetic, good luck. If you're old, well, too bad. If you have a child, so what? You don't even know if they're going to come back safe or healthy, because Chankwanzi is one of the main stores of poison in that country. Nobody knows how safe or healthy they are. The ones who are not going to make it into the military, do you think they're going to want them to come out and talk? Some of them will disappear. And that's how Museveni has been all along. So all of you who live abroad that were saying, wing, 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 you people who live abroad, you say this, you say that. Well, look at that. That's Museveni for you. So any day, while Museveni is still in Uganda, I choose where I am no matter what. Over going back to Uganda, I choose where I am. Right now, South Africa is safer for a Ugandan than being returned to Uganda. South Africa is safer. With those men walking around with logs and sticks and canes and bullets and guns, I would rather hide in South Africa and face those guys than come to Uganda and go to Chankwanzi. Absolutely. Chankwanzi is a dead dream. South Africa, I could dream. Chankwanzi is not the place to live for anyone. Not the place for anyone. So I did talk about how they're planning ahead to using the LC positions or local council positions. They're planning a way to be able to rig elections they are preparing to rig for Muhoozi come 2032. So when these LCs are planted in those areas, those LCs are going to be used to make registrations of people. They're going to have people, in fact, the criteria to become to register, to run for an LC position is to have your NIN number and ID, which would not be a problem because in the Western world, you have to have some sort of ID to prove who you are before you can get into any type of leadership, or even if it's something small. But the purpose of the Museveni is doing this is to gather information so that they can prepare voters' registers and results before elections even happen in 2032. You see how much we've demanded DR forms this time? They have learned. They have decided that by the time 2032 clocks, election year, election month, they will have all DR forms checked out, all voter registered checked out, all the people who will be 18 by 2032 will already be on registered, checked out, voted, elected, all of them elected Muhoozi. That is their plan. That is why it is imperative to get involved, join leadership, join positions, because it matters and it makes a huge difference. It makes a big difference. So in their plans, they will have all data forms, all registrations, a register books, full, ready, equipped. Everything will check out. Everything will look normal. When they say Muhoozi won, if anybody has any arguments, the documentation will be displayed. Unlike this time where they don't have anything to show. This time they know that they blundered huge. They blundered in a big way. They lost because they ignored certain things. But I tell you, because it is our generation, something else will come up. Do you believe it? I do. There will be another way that they'll be like, oh God, we did not see that happening. And then they'll have to devise new plans. But even then, this is not going to go on forever. Okay? So while they plan their future, the next day, per se, we have longer term. We have advantages that they cannot have. We have, you know, we have Muhoozi's hearing coming up at the ICC. We have Muhoozi's, you know, crimes at the ICC. We have so many things. Museveni is not going to be here long. A few more years, Museveni will be done. Okay? Nature must take its course. Museveni will not be here. So, amongst other things, we have an advantage, even if it doesn't end with you know, it doesn't end today. At least we can plan far in the future, further than they can, because we have some assurances in place. Okay? King Saha, I understand there's a major concert that is being arranged by Salim Saleh for King Saha to take place at the Lugogo Oval or at Kololo, sorry, not Lugogo. Apparently they're saying that King Saha has had some agreements with the State House, 5 of them at least this year, that he has not implemented. Obviously, some of them have to do with poisoning or getting rid of His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu or handing him over and things like that. But because it's not who he is, you know, even if they press him, there's certain things that he may not be able to do. But because they're disappointed about many times they've asked him to do this or the other, because King Saha has children with Salim Saleh's daughter. If it wasn't that, King Saha wouldn't even be here. I think he has lived and bought life or bought time in his life because he has some sort of relationship with those people, Salim Saleh. That's why King Saha is still here. But they said that concert will be the last one of his, and he will not live on after that. I don't know how they'll do that, but that's what they say. So if King Saha is going to do something at Kololo, I would rather he does not. But again, you know, forewarned, he knows what to do with that. Okay? Several plots against King Saha have been said, have been told, we've shared. So as much as he's our beloved, he also has to make that decision to do what he knows is right or feels is right based on the facts that he has at his disposal. Okay. The issue of security alerts, we bring those out a lot. I work a lot in collaboration with ASP Asimwe Willie Bible and Politics. We share a lot of information, and it is starting to bite the Musevenis because they think that Asimwe Willie and Lumbuye are the biggest sabotagers of their planned events and atrocities. They've planned the coup d'etat for Uganda several times, but every time they've planned it, it has leaked. And Asimwe Willie has brought it up, and Lumbuye have brought it up, and I have shared it somehow, and it has led to them to have to change, postpone, or not do it. So they're trying to deal with this issue of the security alerts because they feel like unless they have control over taming Asimwe Willie by by doing something to his family members or his children. I understand his family goes to Bunjako, where he comes from, and spend some time there. That's where they're trying to set up to see if they can do something to him, but they're definitely disappointed. That is why these days when Muhoozi says, I'm going to arrest so-and-so on Twitter or on X, 10 minutes later or an hour later, that person is arrested. I'm going to do this to Lukwago, so on, this, that, and the other. Even when he knows that he's going to send Lukwago to come to him to serve him with a letter, even if they're in the deal, they're trying to destroy the idea and belief and attention of Ugandans on security alerts because they feel like when they truly want to operate on something, they want to get Ugandans in a whitewashed mindset where they'll say, oh, those people just say things. It truly doesn't happen. Because they'll get used to Muhoozi doing certain things as he said them, not as those who say security alerts said them. So there's going to be a lot more going on. As they said, this is going to be the term when nobody's going to sleep. That is meant for Ugandans. All of the pain, all of the disaster, all of the atrocities are going to continue because they want to make sure that they keep Ugandans in fear. They've learned that Ugandans are very fearful of dead bodies, of guns and things like that. So they're going to implement terror in every possible means. In fact, they've talked about having certain insurgencies in certain areas. So when you hear or see about those, when you see things like that, you will know that it's something that they know it's manipulative of Ugandans because we are fearful of blood, dead bodies, war, guns, and activities like those. It keeps Ugandans intact and in fear. In the meantime, while people are not being outside or in curfews or fearful of just existing normally, Muhoozi will begin then to execute his plans. As some of them we've told you about, like his witch doctor told him to go and cause certain deaths in his own personal convoy. And recently you saw somebody who was hit or killed. I think he was shot by the Muhoozi's convoy, but obviously the media said, oh, it was some unknown minister. What do you mean unknown? They are a minister. What does unknown even mean? How many ministers does Uganda have? So when they come out and say unknown minister, it means they know. They just have been told not to mention who it is. So while they try to destroy the idea of security alerts, they want to be able to execute their plans on target, as Muhoozi says them he'll do, so that when he does the real deal, we won't really think about what the security alert was or who said when it was. Okay, so be mindful of that. Security alerts are real. The sources that give us those security alerts are people who get them from them. So it is no doubt that when we bring something, even if it doesn't happen as we said it right away, it will take place because they marinate on it and try to figure out how to redo it, change it, manipulate it, so that it doesn't look like what we said, trying to beat the idea of security alerts. So keep that in mind. When we have one, it is true. Take heed, listen to it, do what you can with it because it helps. That incident of South Sudan, if you can share that, Museveni is super angry and wants to get rid of Salva Kiir. and change the government to put somebody else that he likes, that he has been preparing in South Sudan, just like he got rid of John Garang. He's now going to get rid of Salva Kiir, and he's going to replace him with the person that he wants of a choice. To replace not Riek Machar, somebody else that he has already trained, possibly a Kabano, somebody from Rwanda. Okay? So that's about to happen, and make sure you share that and tweet that. I think I have gotten all. Let me see. Did I miss anything? Oh, yes. Okay. They're still struggling to get Lope out of office. You have seen the efforts made. Today there was a post that I shared on my page that Oboth, Speaker of Parliament, has come out to also question the leader of opposition position. He's now, obviously, Oboth is a member, an executive member of PLU. That means Oboth is not the Speaker of Parliament. Oboth is an employee of Museveni's family. Oboth is a member of PLU, which means Oboth will only execute in Parliament as Muhoozi says, not as parliamentarians agree. As Muhoozi says, and as Tayebwa orders him, because Tayebwa truly is the speaker. Oboth is just a position filler. And the earlier he knows that, the better it is for him, because once they have used him to do all these things, Oboth will not live also. Just like Anita Among, just like their predecessors, just like Miss Rebecca Kadaga. You know, her condition does not look normal. Just like before her, the late Jacob Olanya, he said himself told his father that he was poisoned. When these people finish with you, they get rid of you because you're not one of them. It is the reason why they don't use their people. They don't use obvious Banyarwanda or Kabano in these positions to commit these atrocities because they don't want to be the ones caught with their hands dirty. They put our own people so that we can also curse them as they do whatever they do to them. Right now, it is, if you had to have Ugandans vote about how they want Anita to be cared for, you won't get 50% supporting saving Anita. No. Because they have made Anita do so much to her own people that she has soured the taste. Even if she's our own, so many people will say, you know what? Let her pay for her own whatever. So it is, I wish they would learn, but I also can't believe that they don't see it or didn't see it or don't notice it. If he didn't learn from Anita Among, at least he should separate powers. That to say something like, I can't be in a party or organization or in a rebel group like PLU because I'm a Speaker of Parliament, of all members of Parliament. That's who I am. But no, he's split up everywhere. All of us know that his actions are ordered by Muhoozi, Salim Saleh and Museveni. We can never trust Oboth to come out and do the right thing, because surely somebody else pulls his strings. So, and also one major realization with this low position is the fact that all previous opposition was fake. They were all in Museveni's, they were all designed by Museveni. They were all placed by Museveni to make Museveni look democratic, not because there was a legitimate opposition. Because if Museveni does not want a leader of opposition, if Museveni does not want checks and balances, then truly there is no democracy in Uganda. We do not have a democracy in Uganda. Instead, we have a dictatorship, which Museveni has proven it now. The fact that they want to remove Lope, and if they do remove leader of opposition, then Uganda is fully a dictatorship like North Korea. It means they don't have any checks and balances, and the opposition has no voice to do anything or counter any government actions, even if it means in a good way, which is hard to find because a lot of what they do is wrong. And they don't want anybody to counter or challenge any of what they propose. If Muhoozi could be the president now, he would be a dictator from day one. Dictator. It's in all of his actions. It's in all of his talks. He had there was an event that he was reading his speech yesterday. I could speak longer than Muhoozi without looking in the paper. I don't know. This guy can't pull words from nowhere to put anything together. He was reading and flipping pages, and even then, he can't fill in the gaps of a sentence because he knows what he's trying to say. Everything he has to say has to be prepared and handed to him. So if they do remove the leader of opposition position, then the world will know for sure that Uganda is a dictatorship. Everything Museveni does is to the benefit of Ugandans. Even if we will fight things, even if we will fight certain decisions that they come up with. Imagine removing Lope. The world will just know that Museveni is a dictator. Even if we've said this for so long, doing what he does now proves it. And like many other actions the Musevenis have had, has proven truly that there's not a democracy, there is no true opposition until His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu came into power. Until then. Before that, there was none. I have a major security alert. Tweet this. I'm going to share this after I'm done here. The Musevenis have said Ebola has failed them. Okay? Ebola was an avenue for Museveni to lock down Ugandans, and also another avenue for Museveni to make a nice chunk of money from international organizations like the UN, you know, the United States, different countries that would give aid if he truly did have an Ebola outbreak. But he said that Ugandans beat down Ebola and also helped the Western world ignore Ebola completely. So he has felt very disappointed, and he has decided that even if they've done that, he's going to engineer a virus that is going to mimic a pandemic or an epidemic, whereby the world will have to give him money. They will have to make donations to him to try to control the virus that is going to spread in Uganda, including the Marburg virus. Marburg is a newer type of virus that is in certain places. Museveni wants it concentrated in Uganda and spread everywhere so that he has a pandemic on his hands and can get money from the Western world. His government is running dry. He does not have money to fund all this left, right, and center bribes and all this and that. He doesn't have enough money. Certain times MPs are not paid. They have to wait a while because there's no money. Certain public offices do not have money. Teachers have not been paid for a really long time. Medics have not gotten payment for a while. The justice system has not gotten money for a while. And people will tell you, the Cancer Institute of Uganda, my goodness, the cancer machine at the Cancer Institute of Uganda does not actually perform what it should do. It doesn't work. It only lights up but does not do what it should do. But because the government has to collect 60% of collections made by the Cancer Institute patients, okay? When patients go to Mulago, they pay a certain amount of money. That money, Museveni collects 60% of it for his personal use. Now, it is not possible with the whatever is left to be able to fund a new machine or operations, which they need about 100 billion of. Every year they're short of money, but every year they must send on a monthly basis 60% of all collections. And this happens because Museveni will put a Kabano person there who will be in charge of collecting that money and get it to him. And that happens like clockwork. But the patients who go there for treatment think they're getting treated. But meanwhile, the machine only turns on the light and doesn't do anything. That is sick. Does not do anything. That machine does not work. The cancer machine at the institute in Mulago does not work. But they make sure that patients go there. They have their people working there. They ask for huge chunks of money from the cancer patients. It is no wonder cancer patients cannot survive cancer in Uganda. You can't. You have to go somewhere else. I had a friend of mine who went and visited. She's from the US. She went to visit somebody at the Cancer Institute and said it is hell in that place. And it's done on purpose. On purpose. Like I said, if Museveni could have it, Uganda could be empty and he'll bring in his Rwandese people to occupy. So all these vaccinations that they're saying, malaria vaccine or whatever vaccine, they're vaccinating children at school, vaccinating them again at home without documentation to prove what they got, when they got it, when next they should get it. They're just injecting things in people. One of those, or included in those vaccines, are going to be those viruses that are going to cause some sort of infection, like the Marburg virus, that will require a lockdown, that will require international intervention. And for him, he's just looking to get money. But for Ugandans, it will be detrimental to the health of people and the population of Uganda. So be watchful, tell your children, make sure they don't get vaccinated, whatever they are. Boarding schools. I understand every term they're trying to vaccinate people. What are you giving these children? Every single term without documentation. At every level. They move from nursery to primary. In primary, they inject them. Nursery, they were injected. At school, they were injected. In the playground, they're injected. At church, they're being injected. What are you injecting in these people? So be careful for those who are getting vaccinated or allowing their children to get vaccinated way too many times and for reasons you don't understand. They're putting the viruses or the diseases in the children so that they can reduce population and reduce Ugandans. Okay, this one is another big one. Tweet this one if you can. If you have the ability or capability to tweet or share this. Museveni, because he's trying to get international attention on him like he used to have it. Like he used to be known as a peacekeeper of the region. Until we found out that he was actually the cause of atrocities in the region. Therefore, he caused the problem, got money, then came to try to look like he is a peacekeeper. There's never been peace in Uganda, even if they say it, yeah, he brought peace or whatever. No, there's never been peace. As soon as he came into Uganda, northern Uganda had the LRA war for 20 years. As soon as he came into Uganda, Luero people were almost finished. As soon as he came into power, nothing has stopped. People are killed in the streets every day. People are abducted every day. People lose their lives every day. Prisoners are taken every day. Muhoozi said something about Uganda is peaceful. How many people are in prison for no reason? How many missing persons? How many reports are filed with the UNHCR? Human rights. You know, since Museveni has come to Uganda, there has not been peace in Uganda at all. Northern Uganda, I can testify, 20 years solid of war. Luero, Kichwamba, Kasese. People are still in camps. In Bunyoro, there are people in camps. Bunyoro, there are people in camps. In Sebei region, there are people in camps. Where is the peace? Where is the peace that you keep saying Museveni brought? I can't find it. Anyway, here's a huge security alert. This one's my last point before I leave. Museveni is trying to get international attention, and one of the things that they want to do in the next few weeks, few days to weeks, they're trying to shoot an airplane, a commercial airline like Dubai Air or Arab Emirates, British Airways, an airline in the airspaces of the East African region of airspace. He's trying to shoot down a plane in the East African airspace because he wants to get attention and money and funding from the Western world. Share this piece especially because it's important. He wants it to happen on Ugandan soil by him to an airline that is major, like Dubai, British, Turkish, all those airlines that come to Entebbe. He wants to pull down a plane in flames out of the sky onto the ground because he's seeking attention and funding from the Western world. So in any way that you can, share this information so that the airlines can know about it because it will cost a lot of lives, a lot of people heartache. Businesses will look bad all over the world. You know, an airline that goes through something like this may not survive being in business, you know, because of a malfunction or whatever it is that it might look like. So do whatever you can. My last point is about artists in Uganda. I understand that they're because Museveni was told that an artist would be the one to take him out of his presidency. And that's why you see things like the exhumation of Paulo Cafero. Salim Saleh is always with the artists going to Gulu or doing this and that. They're trying to control them and maintain them in a position that they cannot rise up to become anything again. Bobby Wine came from nowhere, and Museveni did not know that this would get this bad like this. But one of his witch doctors told him and said, hey, it will be an artist who will unseat you one day. So he invests a lot. That's why Balaam became a minister, because he's a productions manager. People like Abitex are all of a sudden in the limelight. So they've said that people like Bajo, Abitex, Balamu, Balunya, I don't know who that is, have been given a lot of money to go and figure out how to destroy celebrities, people in the arts industry, performers, musicians, any form of arts where you seem like you're a star or uprising star. I understand some of you are feeling certain things a certain way. In fact, when they do prepare for you to perform, they bring special drinks on your events. Those drinks are not filled from the plants that they normally come from, like the beers or the sodas or whatever alcohol there is that is served at your events. And the purpose is to serve you something that you can't come out from. Some of you are nursing a lot of conditions that you don't know how they came about. It is because of your circles, the Abitexes, the Balams, the people like that, that are putting something to debilitate the artistry community, because Museveni fears that, like the witch doctor told him, an artist would unseat him. For sure, we know Bobby Wine is going to unseat him. So, thank you so much for being here today. I know this was long. You can watch it some other time or whatever you do. Sometimes I can't get the time to do my short periods of time, so I pile up and have a lot to do to share. But I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. The struggle continues. We cannot stop. Museveni cannot beat us physically and feel like he has killed our spirit. That will never happen. So despite what he has done so far, nothing has changed. In any case, we're more amplified to do more with what we have. And we will win, because we have a bigger advantage compared to what he is or what he has. I love you all. Have a great night, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. Love you. Bye.